Okay. Does everybody or anybody need to opt in to recording? Did anybody receive a notification?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Allison Quiroga, and I coordinate the AT&T Summer Bridge program here at the University of Oklahoma Gallogly College of Engineering. Today, we are so lucky to be joined by 4 current engineering students here in the Gallogly College. So I'll turn it over to them to introduce themselves. So Jared, if we can start with you, can you please tell us your name, your hometown, what you're majoring in, your classification, and why you chose to come to OU or chose to go into engineering?
Hello, my name is Jared Blackbear. I'm from Tahlequah, Oklahoma. I'm a computer science junior at the moment, and I chose to come to OU because I wanted to get a better education than was available in my hometown. Because Tahlequah has a college, NSU, but it's not nearly as diverse and as many opportunities as the University of Oklahoma.
Hi, everybody. My name is Christian Newkirk. I'm from Rowlett, Texas. That's 30 minutes east of Dallas. I am studying mechanical engineering, and I am a junior. I chose engineering at the University of Oklahoma because ever since I was little, I identified more with those, like the cartoon characters that fix the airplanes, the cartoon characters that make the cool thing for the hero. I identified more as like the sidekick, and the sidekick always ended up being that like mechanic character. And so I wanted to be able to do that too. I wanted to think like them and be able to just like make an airplane. I wanted to just like make anything I could. And so that's why I chose engineering.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Willow Arana. I am from Norman, Oklahoma. I'm a sophomore in industrial and systems engineering analytics, which means it basically has a built-in computer science minor. And I'm also minoring in Spanish. I chose OU because, first of all, the proximity to my house. I'm from Norman, so I've kind of grown up already surrounded by the OU community, and I just have always fit right in. So. And then I also chose the engineering program because, first off, OU has a really great engineering program. And so I knew that I'd really maximize the benefits by majoring in engineering. And then also, I've always just kind of loved for math and science. And I think the career of engineering has a lot of opportunities for making an impact on the world and society. And so I think because it has such a strong purpose, I was really drawn to it.
All right, hello everyone. My name's Dylan Portillo. I'm currently a senior studying chemical engineering. I'm from Guyman, Oklahoma. Kind of why I chose engineering is just because of how supportive the engineering family is, I guess you could call it. The advisors, everyone, all the students were very close knit because it's a smaller college. And so I just really appreciated that fact. And then also just the challenge that you get from the courses, and it really makes you use your brain and think about the problems that you're solving and all the classes that you take.
Thank you so much, all of you, for giving us a little bit of background about how it is that you came to join us here at the University of Oklahoma. I'm so glad that you're all here to share your guidance and your wisdom and your experiences with those students who are with us today. So I suppose my first question is, what is a typical day in the life like for you guys? I guess, Willow, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So with the pandemic going on, it's a little bit different nowadays, but in general, I think when there's up, a typical day at OU for me starts with, normally I've been having kind of morning, but it depends on what your schedule looks like. But I go to class and I normally sit through a lecture, taking notes, listening, contributing to discussions. And then there's kind of breaks between my classes throughout the day. And in those times, I normally go to the library or sit somewhere and work on homework, study, kind of review what I learned in class, because I think that's really important to really grasping the material, is just kind of looking at it over and over and kind of ingraining it in your mind. So that's what I'll normally do in between classes. And then normally after I've gone through all my classes and had these periodic study periods, then I go to like have a meeting for an organization that I'm in. I will go to that, so I'll kind of stick around on campus for that even after my classes have finished. And so otherwise, that's pretty much it. Then I'll just go home and spend the rest of my night normally studying or doing something kind of stress relieving, relaxing, because that's also really important while we're all super busy with our schoolwork. So yeah, I think that's pretty much my typical day at OU.
My typical day is very similar to Willow's. I wake up and then I attend class. I have classes in the morning, so that's like generally one of the first things I do. I'll also like cook breakfast like before class because my class this semester is on Zoom, the one in the morning. So I'll just like kind of eat breakfast like while I'm watching class. Then after that, similar to Willow, I'll like make sure I understand the material that we just went over. So I'll make sure if there's like any kind of like notes I need to get done, that I like have that written down, or at least that I know where I can refer back to any presentation slides or anything. Midday, I'll like eat breakfast. Then I'll go to like my other classes. Throughout the day, I'll study. I have a job on campus. I'm an engineering tutor. So if you ever need any help, hit me up. But so I also work throughout the day. Later on, like in the afternoon and evening, like after all my classes are over, sometimes I have some club meetings that I go to. But usually I'll either study or maybe I'll like cook dinner with my roommates or go grocery shopping or something. I do like to try to end the day not doing something school related. So like there is definitely time for you to relax. But also like that does vary from person to person. So, but yeah, that's kind of my typical day: studying, eating food, being with my roommates, and also working.
My typical day usually starts around 8 because I'm in a really early class this semester, but it's through Zoom, so at least I get to stay home, don't have to get out the door fast. After that, I have some downtime. I'll just go over some coding, work on different projects I have, and then I'll have another class starting at 1. After that lecture, I usually try to work for at least 3 to 4 more hours before I take a break, get some dinner, try to get the gym in every day. And then after that, I like to come back home, relax a little bit, go over any notes I had left over from the previous study sessions, and then just relax for the rest of the day. And then it does change sometimes depending if I have different organizational meetings. So, but the typical day is pretty lax, and if you have good time management, it's easy to do everything you want in a single day.
Yeah, my typical day is pretty similar to the rest of everyone else. I always try to start my day off with something active. So like whether that's going running or going to work out, just something to like kind of wake me up and make me get ready for the day. And then I usually have classes, a little bit of studying throughout the day. And then later in the evenings is when I have my organizational meetings. Typically between like classes and my meetings, I try to like hang out with some friends so I can just get a little break from like using my brain all day and just kind of like relax for a little bit. So that's typically how I like get a break from like classes all the time, because you do want to make sure you're like taking care of yourself and just relaxing at the same time and enjoying the like college experience instead of just like going to class, going to meetings. Like you need to make sure you have some fun throughout the days as well.
Wonderful. Thank you all for sharing. It sounds like you all do an excellent job of balancing your school responsibilities with extracurriculars and making sure that you take time for yourselves and your own mental and physical health. So I suppose one of the pieces of that puzzle that I think all of you really touched on was student organizations, clubs, and campus involvement in general. In y'all's opinion, what would you say are the clubs and student organizations that are most popular or that have been most instrumental to you feeling like you belong to the OU community?
I could start with this one. For me, I'm a member of OU Cousins, which is kind of an international-based organization at OU where students from the US are paired with international students, and then there's events that are sponsored by the organization, and you can go and meet with your cousin, your OU cousin, and and just get to know one another, share different cultural aspects of each other, which is really interesting because, for example, I was paired with a Japanese student last year. And it was really cool to get to, she taught me a little bit of Japanese phrases. I could kind of say my name in Japanese, and it was really neat. And we also watched some Japanese anime, and we had like the subtitles on, but she could just understand everything, which was really cool. And so that organization has really been eye-opening to me, and I think it's really essential to connect with the international community here at OU. And also, it's a great act of service in a sense, because you're kind of welcoming these students who are leaving their homes and are in this new place, and it can be scary at times. So I think just supporting them in any way possible is really important. So that's been one of my favorite organizations that I've joined, and I highly recommend it.
For me, I kind of like the outreach aspect of organizations. So I'm in a few different outreach programs here at the university. Specifically in engineering, I'm in a Sooner Engineering Education Center, which is kind of like an engineering program, or we do engineering projects for elementary to high school students. And we just kind of teach them a little bit more about engineering and telling them about college and stuff like that. So I really enjoy that program. And then also with the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, we have like little high school chapters where they make their own organization. And so it's really fun to like go to those high schools and see what they're planning at their meetings and stuff like that. And so I really like the outreach aspect of organizations. And then like for my social aspect, I kind of like my fraternity. So Phi Iota Alpha, like it's always good to like just hang out with the bros and kind of just like relax and make sure that I'm still having that social aspect.
Two organizations that I am so passionate about outside of engineering are Class Council and the Big Event. So Class Council is an organization that's devoted to helping everybody feel unified on campus, helping people feel like they can identify with their graduating class if they don't already identify with maybe a group, organization, or cause. And so I love being able to contribute my time to that. I also love the Big Event because it is a giant day of community service, and I love going out and doing community service. So they have this exec team that I've been a part of before. And so like the whole year, you're like planning this giant day of community service for everyone. And I love it so much. Within engineering, I'm also involved in SHEP, and that has been super duper great. I love, one of the big reasons that I go to SHEP is because of the professional development. And so it's a great way to help develop your professional skills within engineering, because there's a lot that I didn't know before I joined that organization. So those are some organizations that helped me feel welcome and at home.
Some of the organizations I'm a part of are ACES, which is the American Indian Science and Engineering Society. I really like that organization because it allows me to grow professionally. And then it also allows me to be able to create connections within different companies, because they have a lot of different diversity leaders that go to different conferences, and then you get to meet them. You go back next year, you meet them again, you just keep seeing the same people. So you really get to feel a connection with them by the time you graduate and hopefully get a job with them. And then there's also ASA, which is the American Indian Student Association. It's a lot more lax. It's just a nice place to go, be social, get to connect with the community at OU. And then with ASA, you're even able to connect with the community of Norman in regards to like the Native American community and the things that they do around Norman. And then another thing, that organization I'm part of that allows me to grow professionally, is the GEN program, which is the Gender and Ethics program for Native American students. It's a really good program because it allows me to get some research on my name, allow me to grow professionally, and then I have different things I can talk about with interviewers whenever I go to interview for different internships or programs.
That's incredibly interesting. Jared, I remember from your introduction, one of the things that brought you to the University of Oklahoma was the ability to leverage opportunities for personal growth, professional growth, and leadership development. It sounds like that program in particular helps you meet those goals, but are there any others around OU or the College of Engineering that you also leverage?
The D&I department helps a lot because they hold monthly meetings with different companies. They come in, talk about their company. You're able to connect with them as well. And then, one sec. Lost my train of thought. There's also the FIRE program, which was the first year research experience. I was able to do research under Dr. Grant, which is a computer science professor. We got to do some research under machine learning and scraping different websites for data and then scrubbing that data. So the engineering department has a lot of different opportunities and ways to get involved and grow yourself professionally.
Thank you. Christian, do you want to take that question next?
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to class council really quick. We have our leadership curriculum within our organization that all of our members go through. And so it's a great way to help develop leadership skills by learning how to plan events, how to communicate effectively with others, learning how to be a mentor and how to get a mentor. We also have a lot of different like outreach opportunities, so you're able to help develop your interpersonal skills whenever you're communicating. Let me think. SHEP is really great for professional growth. There's a lot of engineering organizations in particular that really help you develop professionally, like the ones that we mentioned, but there's also so many more. I would almost say like all engineering organizations really like have that aspect to some extent. Like right now, the career fair is approaching. And so like every engineering organization is having like career fair meetings with different people who can like review your resume maybe, or at the very least give you like resume tips. So there's not a lack of professional development going on here in the College of Engineering. But like Jared mentioned, the D&I office is literally like one of the best places to go. Just because like honestly, just because like, it's an office on campus, it's a physical place that you can go to. You can feel at home there in that space. You can talk to anyone you need to talk about. If you had a question, like it's so easy to just go in there and be like, hey, like, I don't know what to do. Can you please help me? And like anybody in that office, like faculty, staff, or students, like anyone will be more than happy to help you and like point you in the right direction. So those are some great resources that you can find on campus.
Great. I have one more resource I can just kind of add. It's kind of outside of the College of Engineering, but they hit most of the like resources within the College of Engineering, but career services on campus, that's very helpful. I know they specifically have a person who specializes in like engineering resumes or engineering interviews. And so if you go to that person, his name's Rick Dubler, and he helped me like make my resume way better. It was really bad beforehand, and he's like, you need to do a lot of changes, but he was very interactive and helped me a lot with that, like finding what I needed to keep, what I needed to take out and stuff like that. And so that's just a great place if you need to practice interviews or if you need to get your resume critiqued or find a job. Like that's just a good spot to kind of like start, and then they could kind of give you advice on where you should go next.
Can you repeat the question one more time for me? I just want to make sure that I get all aspects of it.
Absolutely. I was wondering if there are any specific programs or offices around campus that help you develop yourself professionally or through leadership development or mentoring.
Okay. Yeah. So one of the other organizations that I'm a part of is Alpha Sigma Kappa Women in Technical Studies, which is a sorority for women in STEM majors. So it's a really great support group for women who are traditionally more excluded from these fields. And I think having the connection with, for me, members of the sorority who have graduated and who have gone into their careers and worked for different companies, there's really like a strong connection between those past members and the current members. So if you have any questions or want to build a network with different companies and stuff, you can really reach out to those past members who are already kind of out there. And then another program that I was a part of my freshman year was the Diversity and Inclusion Me Squared program, which was basically you're paired with a mentor, and they are also mine was in my major, and so I think you typically are paired with a mentor in your major, who can just kind of get lunch with you and talk with you about their experiences and give you any advice on like what professors you should be trying to get in your classes, or which classes you're going to need to focus on a lot and dedicate a lot of time and effort to. And also my mentor kind of told me about how to get internships, which was really nice because she had one her sophomore year, the summer of her sophomore year. And so just knowing those resources, kind of getting connected to what resources are available through your mentor can be really helpful.
Wonderful. Well, it sounds like all of you have found a lot of different champions and allies on campus that have helped you really reach for those professional goals that you are here in college to pursue. So I thank you guys for sharing those stories with us. We've been on for about 20 minutes talking about some of the stuff around the academic portion of being a college student. So if you guys don't mind, let's transition on to what is it like to be in your major or in your degree program? What have your experiences been in particular as a student? So I suppose my first question, does your major require an independent study or a capstone project? Dylan, do you want to go first?
Yes, I can go ahead and go first. Yeah, so ours does have a capstone project. There's a bunch of different, it's chemical engineering. There's a bunch of different kind of capstones that you can do. It kind of depends once you get there. I'm not there yet, but once I do get there, I'm sure I'll have a lot of support from different faculty and advisors, and they'll be able to guide me along my capstone and making sure that I just kind of finish my degree out. I know that's kind of how within chemical engineering, there's a lot of support system there. They just kind of want you to make sure that you graduate and you finish your degree. So even in those upper division, once you do reach those capstone projects, like you're going to have a lot of support within those capstones. So you have a great project that you can like finish and kind of take with you like as like a completion thing, like, wow, I finished this project and I really finished my degree.
Oh yeah, going off of what Dylan said, we don't really know too much about capstones yet because that's really a major thing for seniors, but in regards to them, there is a lot of support. And then once you finish them, you're able to talk about that to different employers as well. It's a way to connect with them, show them what you're capable of, and that you understand what your degree is and what you bring to their company.
Similar to the others, I have a very like outside perspective of the capstone because I am just a junior. But something that's so cool that like we have in like the engineering quad is like for like your capstone, like you make a poster and like you do the whole poster thing, and then sometimes your poster gets like posted, I guess, on like in a building. And so for mechanical engineering, at least, in the basement of Felger Hall, we have a capstone alley. And so it's just this hallway, but it has like different capstone posters like all throughout the hallway. And so whenever I'm bored sometimes, like if I'm walking through there and I have time, I'll just like stop and like read through one of them. And it's like really cool to see what other people have worked on and to see other examples of their success. Because like Jared and Dylan said, like that's like their magnum opus of their time at college a little bit. Because that's like pretty much from what I can tell, that's like the last thing that you do more or less. That's like your last semester of college. You're finishing things out. You're looking forward to like your future career, and so you're finishing up this project that's kind of like taking everything you've learned before and putting it together in some way or another. And so it's something that I'm looking forward to for my senior year, getting to like work in a team and kind of figure out, I guess, like how to do this project. I've heard that like professors are like really supportive about it. Right now, I'm doing research with a mechanical professor, and it counts as one of my electives. And he's always so supportive for me already. And like I'm just a junior, and I don't even know what I'm doing. Like he's like, oh yeah, like model this in SolidWorks, and I'm like, I don't know how to do that yet. Can you help me? And he's so supportive. So like I can't wait to do capstone and like go through all of that because I know that I'm gonna have the support from everyone.
Okay, so for industrial and systems engineering, I actually recently talked to a senior in my major who's doing her capstone project. And so what she said is that she actually gets to work in industrial and systems engineering in general. The capstone project is working with a company on a project of theirs, which is a really great opportunity, first of all, for networking, because you actually get to work with that company. They are aware of your skills and your dedication to the field, but also it's a great opportunity to just see what it's like when you're actually working on a project for a company and working with their requirements, their specifications. And so it really gives you some good experience for going out into the work field.
Well, it sounds like all of you, even though you haven't had a chance to start or do a capstone yet, are pretty excited about the hands-on opportunities that you'll get to experience with those projects. And Christian has briefly talked about some of his experiences with getting hands-on experience through undergraduate research. But I was wondering, could you guys tell me a little bit more about the kinds of hands-on practical experiences that you've been able to get inside the classroom or outside the classroom?
Okay, I'll start. So my very first time doing like pretty much anything that was like engineering on the college level was the AT&T Summer Bridge program. As you can see behind Allison's shoulder, I was part of a group that made a model splash pad, and so we completely created this model, and it was like I don't know how to describe it. I don't remember the exact dimensions, but like maybe it was like 4 feet by 4 feet or something on this like piece of wood, and we made these different like attractions on it. So like water would like squirt out and do these different things, and we had to I believe we synced it up to music. But it was a really cool team building project because like I didn't have anything to do with that music portion of it. I was more like with the construction part of it and making sure that like the water would just go through it. But it was really fun to like work in a team during that time to where we were able to actually like delegate different tasks to each other, specialize in these different portions. And I did that coming into freshman year. And coming into freshman year, I've never taken an engineering class before. I had never done like any type of anything that had to do with engineering. Like I had friends like at the same program as me who said like, oh yeah, I came from a school that like I did like vocational trade classes and like I learned all about engineering. I have experience with like all this different software and stuff. And I was just like, oh wow, like I've never touched any kind of engineering software. I barely knew what coding was like, but it was a great experience. I also talked a little bit about my research. So something that I feel like, I don't know, like a misconception is that research is like unattainable, unreachable. That's only for the people who are insanely smart and know exactly what they're doing. But that's not true at all. Like to do research, all you have to do is be passionate. You just have to be passionate. You just have to be kind of curious about, I don't know, different things. And it's so easy to reach out to a professor because that's the first step. Like all you have to do, go onto your department website on the College of Engineering, look at the people, like just look at what they do. Like that's the first step. And then step 2, email them. Just email them and say, hey, I'm interested in doing research. I am a freshman, sophomore, junior, whatever. Here's my major. Do you have any opportunities? And then they are literally so helpful. Like they will like bend their back, they'll break their back, like whatever their saying is, and like help you. Like it's so great. And that's my experience.
So for me, my first kind of experience with hands-on and practical stuff was in the freshman engineering experience class, which I think every freshman in engineering will take. And that really provides kind of group projects where you're working with engineering concepts and stuff like that. And so my project, the most memorable project of that class for me was we did a pumpkin drop. And so we had to get a pretty big sized pumpkin and make a contraption for it to where we could drop it off of a building and it would not break. And so my group, we got a cardboard box at first, which seems kind of flimsy, but it actually ended up taking a lot of the force. And so, and then we made a parachute for that and kind of put a lot of bubble wrap in the actual box so that it didn't break. And it didn't. It did have one like crack on the side, but it didn't break in the end. And So overall, it was a really good experience for teamwork. Like Christian was saying, you really have to learn how to delegate tasks in between your team and figure out who's doing what, who has what strengths and what people are good at, and applying that to what they're actually going to contribute. And then also we did a presentation over it. So being able to kind of transform your work into something that you can share with others and kind of explain your purpose and your thought process in the design, and also explaining the results and the reasons for why it turned out the way it did, and also future insights for how you could improve it. So all of that kind of culminated into a really eye-opening experience for what it'll be like to work in a team on design projects in the future within engineering.
Kind of my hand-on experience is also research. I did research last year. Just one thing I'd like to add about research is it's kind of whatever you're interested in. There's a lot of different things that professors are researching, so you can look up pretty much anything. Something that I kind of was interested more on was like the bio aspect. So I was working with artificial heart valves, and we were doing testing on like how, like, if you stretch it like a certain amount, will it still operate, and like after it's stretched or whatever. And so like you can really look up anything and like kind of get involved. And I actually researched with a mechanical engineering professor, so it wasn't even like in my department because I'm chemical engineering. So you can really go wherever you want, and you can research with like anyone you want to. It doesn't even have to be within engineering. So that's really nice about research. And then my other hands-on experience would be my internship this last summer, which I actually got from the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, SHEP, the national convention. And this one, I was working as a technical sales intern, so it wasn't super technical either. Like some of the things I created did have a technical aspect where I had to use my like chemical engineering knowledge, but then other parts of it was more like sales. So I was making calls to companies and kind of trying to make this water treatment sale to these companies. And so it was really interesting to see that even with my like chemical engineering background, like I can really be open to a lot of different jobs and work wherever I want to as an engineer. And I may or may not be using technical skills. And so that's really awesome for me to know that you kind of have these choices as an engineer where you want to go after college.
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, so the question was about where you've been able to gain hands-on practical experience, whether that's in the classroom or through an extracurricular activity.
Okay. Classroom-wise, with computer science, that if you've come into school not knowing anything about computer science, that's fine, because the intro classes, they're there to teach you the basics of coding, the basics of the different languages that coding offers, and then just different algorithms, functions, ways to interpret code. So coming into school, I personally had never coded before, so I was a little anxious starting out as a freshman computer science major, but the class was very easy to understand. Nothing really went over my head, and then there was a ton of help available through the TAs and the teacher if you ever needed it. Into the upper division CS classes, it's still like that. There's still a ton of opportunities for assistance if you need it from TAs, the teacher, classmates. And then outside of the classroom, there's a ton of opportunities for research. Starting out as a freshman, you can do the first year research experience, which will put you under a different professor dependent on your major and interests. And then past that, you're able to reach out to different professors and see what their type of research they do, and then ask them if you can join their research lab. And then even more than that, you can still do research through the university because they do offer different classes dependent on your major. Especially in the upper divisions, some require that you do some research. So there's definitely a lot of different ways to grow your skill set through school and through the university itself.
Well, wonderful. So we are coming up on the last 10 minutes of our time together today. So I'd like to ask you guys, one sort of more frivolous question, and then maybe we will go through and do a final statements. But for the frivolous question, what's your favorite food on campus?
I can go ahead and go first. You saved the
Okay.
hardest question for last. um, so there's this actually like pretty cool place that's like kind of fancy, I guess you could say, in the Union. It's called the University Club. Um, I just kind of like it because it's like actually like a restaurant. They like serve you your food and stuff, so it's really cool. And you can still use like your meal plan points and like your meal plan there. And they have some like really good food, so I really like that. And then I also love the calf, but I think U Club is above the calf.
I was gonna say the exact same thing as Dylan. I love U Club so much. It is so expensive. I will not be eating there now that I do not have a meal plan. But it's so nice being able to like go and eat there with friends like after classes and to just like be in a booth because it's like a full restaurant experience in our union. And so that's really nice. Also, I really like Crossroads, but I really like Crossroads because of like the quick and easy food that it is. Like it is very much like low quality food, fast food, junk food. It is not healthy at all. Somebody asked me once like, "Oh, what's like a healthy option on campus?" And I did not say Crossroads, but it's very cheap. And so if you're in the union and you're like, "Oh, like I need a snack or I need like I haven't eaten for like a couple hours and I'm hungry, like what am I going to do?" You can easily like go to Crossroads and get like a quesadilla or something. So it's like very, very quick.
One of my favorite things about food on campus, I don't have a specific favorite food, and the reason for that is because I like the fact that there's variety. And if I eat the same thing too much, I very quickly get sick of it, and then it does not keep its place as my favorite food. So I think what I like is overall, you just have a lot of different options. There's like fast food, then there's like U Club if you want restaurant, more like higher quality food. There's a breakfast place at Kate. You can get pancakes or biscuits. I like that place. And then there's sushi, which is really good. I actually like the sushi. And yeah, overall, and then like the cafeteria just has a lot. It's like a huge buffet, and there's just so many different options you can get there. You can get like one plate where you have like 3 different types of food on it, like Chinese food or Chick-fil-A or something, and just have that variety. So I think that's really essential whenever you're going to be on campus for the whole year. Having a meal plan is just being able to choose between different options, and you never get sick of a single type.
Yeah, the U Club is definitely one of the best places on campus if you have the time to sit down and get a meal there. But I like going to the Union Market because it's just a grab and go type of place. They usually do rotating food every day, so they'll have Italian, Hispanic food, just traditional. So it's really nice because they change out the menu each day, so there's always variety, so there's always something different to try. And then the university also sometimes brings in food trucks. You can find those sometimes by the freshman dorms or by the union. Those are really nice because they usually try to get different food trucks every few weeks just to make sure that the lineup stays fresh and that there's tons of options available and they have something for everyone, really.
It's so great to hear about all the different options. I will admit that I'm incredibly surprised that nobody said the dessert place in the calf. Literally all the cake you can eat and many different kinds of cake. I'm sure that there are many freshmen who get in trouble because of their deep love of cake and also Chick-fil-A. Anyway, thank you again so much all for being here today. In our last 5 minutes, I'm hoping that each of you can give a very quick lesson or advice you wish someone had given you as a high school senior, looking at colleges, thinking about, what does the next 4 years look like?
I can start with this one. So I'm going to say time management versus energy management. They're both very important, but I already, like in my own humble opinion, I have amazing time management skills. I can fit 500 meetings in a single day. and I will go to them all, and I will also go to class, and I will also do all these other 500 activities. But by the end of the day, I'm so exhausted. I don't have any energy to like do anything that I like. I don't have any energy to like talk to my roommates. I don't have any energy to like, I don't know, to be happy, honestly. And so that's something that like I kind of struggled with a little bit freshman year and kind of going into sophomore year. So this like past, honestly, because of COVID, like COVID really taught me about like energy management and kind of figuring out like what actually is making me happy. It gave me a lot of time to reflect. And so I would say like pour your energy into places that can also pour back into you. So like, for example, make sure you are investing time in your friendships. Make sure you are investing time in something that will develop you professionally. Involvement looks different for everybody. Like I said, I am involved in like so many things, and I love to be involved in so many things. But if you are only involved in one or two things, like that's okay too, because it looks different for everybody. Also, involvement does not mean being the freshman representative for like 5 groups. It does not mean being president of every single thing you're a part of. It might just mean like, hey, I'm a casual member who can make it to like 2 meetings each semester, but like I try to go to those meetings whenever I can, and that's the extent of my involvement. So it looks different for everybody. Don't feel pressured into doing too much. Definitely try to get involved, try to like reach out a little bit, get out of your comfort zone, but like also know that you don't have to keep going forever and ever. I needed somebody to tell me to stop, but you might need somebody to tell you to keep going. So it's different for everybody.
For me, I think kind of touching on time management too, that's a really important skill to have. One of the ways that I kind of manage my time is by really planning ahead for each assignment. As soon as you know what assignment you have, break it up into smaller chunks and figure out what you're going to do each day so that it's not this scary looming thing in the future that you don't know how you're going to tackle. So if you have just a small chunk of it that you're going to work on each day, like if it's a paper, have like write 2 paragraphs today, and then you know that you need 10 paragraphs total, and then you need 5 days of 2 paragraphs each. It's manageable because you're not writing 10 paragraphs in one day. And so yeah, I think in general, just really planning out your assignments, planning out your week. I take a few minutes every Sunday and I plan out, this is what I'm going to do each day. These are the due dates. This is what class I'm going to do at what time, like what class I'm going to work on. And kind of that just helps me to visualize like, okay, I actually do have time to do all of these things, and it's not just this overwhelming, I don't have enough time, there's so much I have to do. It'll just be kind of broken down into, you can see directly like, okay, I actually do have enough time for this. I just have to break it up. So yeah, that's pretty much my biggest piece of advice.
Something that I would have wanted here as like a senior in high school is just like don't get discouraged, because like senior year you're applying for a lot of different things and you're like there's a lot of changes happening. Just keep applying. Like if there's scholarships, like keep applying to those scholarships. You may get rejected for one, but then the next one that you apply to you may be accepted for, and it may be a lot more money and it may be way better than the one you got rejected for. So I guess just like keep applying, keep exploring different options, keep trying different things as you are like trying to make this transition into college, because there are a lot of different options and there are a lot of different things that you can look into. And just because you get rejected for one thing, it really doesn't matter, because there's many more options that you can look into instead.
I think it's really important to find your community on campus. So whether that be socially, academically, culturally, it's just really important to find some sort of support system, people that you can relate to, people that are going through the same struggles as you. It's just really important that you find those people, you interact with them, you get to know them, because if they're freshmen like you, they'll be here for another 4 years. You'll get to know them for another 4 years. So some of my best times have been through the people I knew through Bridge, because then starting freshman year, I already knew people were taking the same classes. It was really easy just to go to the freshman dorms, sit down, study for a few hours, play around, interact with each other, but still get work done and make sure that we're really learning the material and staying on our degree path to graduate in 4 years.
Well, wonderful. So I want to take a few minutes again to thank the four of you, Jared, Christian, Dylan, and Willow, for being here with us today to share some of your experiences both here at the University of Oklahoma and the College of Engineering, and just the experiences from what brought you here to us with the students who have joined us on this call today. And to all of you students who've been able to log in, we appreciate you taking the time to learn a little bit more about what we have to offer here at the Gallogly College of Engineering.